Aristotle once said something no one dares to repeat today. The woman is like a mutilated man. And he didn't say it with hate. He said it with observation, with philosophy, with brutal honesty. But we live in an age that worships illusion, an era where looking truth in the eye is considered a crime, where men are trained to adore, not to understand. This video is not for everyone, not for those who need to feel comfortable, not for those still believing in fairy tales. It's for the man who's already seen something he cannot unsee, something that hurts, but also pushes him to wake up. Woman is not what they told you. She's not a fragile, delicate, chaotic creature. She's not the eternal victim. She's not the lost princess. She's far more dangerous than that, because her power isn't physical, it's psychological, symbolic, invisible. And that's why she's lethal to the man who doesn't understand it. This is not an attack, it's a mirror. One that doesn't forgive, one that doesn't decorate, one that if you dare to look will show you why you lost your direction, your clarity, your strength, by idealizing something that never was what you thought it was. While you dreamed of her, she watched. While you promised, she chose. While you gave everything, she decided. And you didn't see it. Because no one taught you to see. They taught you to love blindly. And the price of that blindness is your entire life. The biggest mistake modern men make is not hating women. It's underestimating them. Believing their power lies in what can be seen, their body, their softness, their emotions, when in truth, her power lies in what can't be seen, in what is felt, in what you can't touch, but still controls you. For centuries, woman has been portrayed as weak, as someone who needs protection, as someone waiting to be rescued, and that was part of her genius. Because while men rushed to save her, she mastered something far more important: attention, narrative, desire. She didn't need physical strength. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need to fight. She only had to observe, to understand, and to strike at the perfect moment. Because her power is strategic, instinctual, silent. A woman who knows her value can change a man's behavior without saying a word, with a look, with an absence, with a silence, with a calculated withdrawal. And the man who never learned this language panics, clings, gives himself away, falls, because he never saw the game, never realized she isn't weak. She's selective. She's not passive. She's watchful. She's not innocent. She's effective. Aristotle didn't speak of malice. He spoke of nature. And a woman's nature doesn't need to dominate. She only needs to trigger in man his deepest need, to be seen, to be loved, to be accepted. And when she becomes the source of that, he loses everything. He loses his clarity, his focus, his mission, his self-respect, because now everything revolves around her, and she knows it. She's always known it, not through manipulation, but through survival. Her survival has always depended on reading the man, on choosing the strongest, the steadiest, the one who doesn't crumble. And if you're not that man, if you get too emotional, if you give yourself without limits, she'll feel it. And something in her will turn off. Disconnect. Because your emotional weakness doesn't bring her peace, it brings her fear. So she starts to withdraw. Not with shouting, but with gestures, with distance, with short answers, with long silences. And you, instead of seeing the strategy, react with more love, more effort, more surrender. And that drives her further away. Because you're not reading her language. You still believe love is earned through sacrifice, when what she truly respects is the man who doesn't lose himself for her, the one who stands firm, the one who doesn't chase, but allows himself to be chased, when she sees in him what she's looking for. Woman is not weak. And until you understand that, you'll keep acting as if you're more, when in reality you're becoming less. And she, without saying a word, will show you what you truly mean to her, with an action, with a choice, with a replacement. And you'll feel it as betrayal, But it's not. It's strategy. One that was right in front of you the whole time, but you refuse to see it. And now that you do, you can never look the same way again. Every man who has ever given himself completely to a woman knows what it feels like to disappear. Not physically, not suddenly, but slowly, silently, emotionally. First, he stops prioritizing his goals. Then, he silences his opinions so he won't upset her. Then he begins to let go of his boundaries. He sacrifices his routine, his time, his friends, his peace. And he does it believing it's love, believing it's the right thing to do, that this is how commitment is shown. But what he's really doing is erasing himself, dissolving, becoming an extension of her, a satellite orbiting her energy, waiting for approval, waiting for affection, waiting not to be left behind. And she feels it. She sees it. And she disconnects. Because she's no longer with a man. She's with a shadow. With someone who lives to please, to fit in, to not make waves. And respect fades. And with it, attraction. And with the attraction, the connection dies. And you, who gave everything, who bet everything, ask yourself, why is she pulling away if I was good to her? If I did everything right? If I loved her with my whole soul? And that is the problem. You loved her with your soul, but forgot to love yourself. And she can't love a man who doesn't love himself, who can't stand firm, who doesn't claim his emotional space, who doesn't draw a line in the sand. Because that's not kindness, it's emptiness. And emptiness, though it may look like tenderness at first, eventually becomes suffocating. Then comes the silence, the disinterest, the excuses, the meaningless fights, the dry replies, and finally, the exit, and you're left with a ruined heart, a shattered soul, a broken self-image asking, was anything real? Did she ever love me? Did I do something wrong? And the answer is painful, yes, you did something wrong. You gave yourself before building yourself. You got lost in someone who could only see you if you had already found yourself. It wasn't her, it was you. Your need, your attachment, your unchallenged fantasy. She never asked to be put on a pedestal. You put her there. And now that she's gone, you're left alone in the empty space you carved out yourself. That's what happens to the man who gives himself without measure. He disappears. His strength disappears. His center disappears. His voice disappears. And when he finally opens his eyes, there's no one left by his side. Worse than that, he no longer knows how to return to himself. That's the most dangerous part, because it's not just the loss of a woman, it's the loss of your axis, your path, your ability to stand on your own. And to get it back, you'll have to rebuild from scratch. No shortcuts, no anesthesia, no childish hope that things will go back to how they were. Because they won't. But if you accept that, if you stop chasing what already left, you'll find something greater, yourself. And that rediscovery is worth every tear, every dark night, every silence. Because in that moment, finally, you exist again. There comes a moment in every man's life when the ideal collapses. Not gradually, not gently, but like a building imploding from the inside. Because there's nothing left to hold it up. Because reality has taken over. Because you can't lie to yourself anymore. That moment is brutal, but it's necessary. It's when you finally understand that what you thought you loved wasn't her. It was the image you built of her. It was the story you needed to fill your emptiness. The narrative that made you believe your life had meaning, because someone else validated it. And now, without that image, everything falls apart. You look in the mirror and don't know who you are. You ask yourself how you got this far into the lie. And it hurts. It hurts like few things ever do. Because it's not just losing her, it's losing the identity you built around her. It's seeing yourself without filters, without masks, without that comforting illusion that made you feel important. But it's in that pain where everything begins, because that's where truth is born. And truth doesn't scream, doesn't soothe, doesn't apologize. Truth just shows up. And if you can withstand it, it changes you forever. The truth is, you weren't less because she didn't love you. You were less because you gave up all your power for a kiss, because you lost yourself trying to be chosen, because you believed your worth depended on her attention. But no, it was never like that. Your worth lies in your direction, in your purpose, in your ability to stand tall, even when she's not there. Aristotle understood this. Woman is not an ideal, not a destination. She's a test, a natural force that reveals who you truly are, not with words but with reactions, with consequences. And you, who thought you were in love, were actually just running from yourself, from your emptiness, from your lack of structure. The collapse of the ideal is the birth of the real man, the one who no longer follows desire blindly, the one who no longer chases empty promises, the one who no longer needs to be loved to walk with confidence. And that is power. Not the power to dominate, but the power not to crumble, not to beg, not to lose yourself in every new story. This man no longer seeks salvation in anyone, because he has saved himself. And that's why he can look a woman in the eyes without fear, without hate, without dependency. He can enjoy her, value her, walk beside her, but without offering his soul, because his soul is no longer on sale. It is protected, anchored, awake. And if one day she leaves again, he won't shatter, because he no longer builds on myths. He builds on clarity. This man doesn't believe in fairy tales anymore. He believes in actions, in energy, in internal coherence. And because of that, he cannot be manipulated. He cannot be destroyed. Because the man who has seen the truth can never again live in the lie. There's a before and an after, a moment when you simply can't go back. Because you saw, because you understood, because the lie no longer fits. That moment doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It's quiet, but unmistakable. It's when something inside you aligns, when you no longer react the same way, when your dreams change, when you stop being pulled by a pretty face, by sweet promises, by illusions that smell like dependency. And for the first time, you can look at a woman with different eyes. Not with blind desire, not with childish idealization, not with that desperate need to be approved, but with presence, with clarity, with respect, and with boundaries, because she is not the enemy, and neither are you. The true enemy was always the myth, the one that told you you'd only be complete if you were loved by her. That myth dies today, and with it, you are born. Now, you can see, you can choose, you can decide who enters your life and who doesn't get past the door. You can be alone without feeling less. You can walk in silence without feeling lost. You can hold your energy without needing constant validation. And that, brother, that is freedom. The freedom of the man who no longer searches, who no longer crawls, who no longer breaks apart, who doesn't need to be loved to love his own path. And now, I leave you with a question. Just one. One you don't need to answer to me, only to yourself. How many times did you lose yourself thinking it was love, when it was really just fear of being alone? Leave it in the comments. Not as a vent, but as a signal that you're awake, that you're ready, that there's no going back. And if this video touched you, if this truth helped you, if you feel this message deserves to continue, you can support my work by liking and sharing this video. The link is pinned in the top comment. Because this content isn't for everyone, but if you're still here, it's because you know silence no longer protects you. Truth does. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for thinking. And above all, thank you for not staying silent.